a Pentecostal preacher's son, a Chinese billionaire, and a deal that sold 140,000 acres of Texas. What do they have in common? Greed. This is the story of how it happened and why it should never have been legal. Before we tell you about David Frankens, you need to understand what he enabled. In June 2017, China passed a law that changed everything. It's called the National Intelligence Law. Article 7 states, all organizations and citizens shall support, assist, and cooperate with national intelligence efforts. Every Chinese citizen, every Chinese company, legally required to spy for the Communist Party. And just a few weeks ago, 60 Minutes exposed exactly why that matters. General Tim Hawk, former head of the NSA and U.S. Cyber Command, revealed that China has hacked into over 200 American utilities. Not big cities, small towns. Water treatment plants, electrical grids, infrastructure that keeps Americans safe. The FBI found Chinese hackers inside the systems of Littleton, Massachusetts, a town of 10,000 people. Why? To prepare for war, to cause chaos on American soil while China invades Taiwan. That's not speculation. That's what our top intelligence officials are warning right now. And one American made it possible for China to plug directly into Texas. His name is David Frankens from Laughlin, Texas. Between 2016 and 2018, Frankens orchestrated the sale of 140,000 acres to Chinese billionaire Sun Guangxin. He'd buy ranches from Texas families, then flip them, sometimes within hours, to Sun shell companies for significantly more than he paid. Never mentioning the Chinese connection. By 2018, Sun had acquired those roughly 140,000 acres entirely in Val Verde County. 7% of all land in the county, right next to Laughlin Air Force Base, right next to the Texas power grid. $110 million in Chinese money, all through one middleman. And right in the heart of what should have been a protected conservation corridor. So who is Sun Guangxin? He's not just a businessman. He's a former captain in China's People's Liberation Army. He built a $2 billion fortune in Xinjiang, the region where China detained over 1 million Uyghur Muslims in what the United States declared genocide. The UN concluded China's actions, quote, Sun made his billions in the same place where those crimes happened. His company, Xinjiang Guanghui, isn't just any corporation. Sun himself said, Guanghui functions like a great state-owned enterprise. And remember that 2017 law? Sun is legally required to cooperate with Chinese intelligence. Not might, must. But here's what makes Frankens' role even worse. He knew. For decades, the Nature Conservancy and Texas Parks and Wildlife had been working to protect this land, assembling a conservation corridor, safeguarding one of Texas's last remaining pristine wildernesses. David Frankens knew this, and he directed Sun Guangxin straight into that conservation corridor anyway, for industrial development, for wind farms, for whatever Sun wanted. That's not just greed, that's betrayal of Texas's natural heritage. While Texas was welcoming Sun with open arms, other countries were paying attention. In 2021, the Australian Parliament took action. They mandated that their country's sovereign wealth fund divest all shares of Sun's company, specifically because of its association with the Chinese government's human rights abuses. Australia looked at the evidence and said, "We will not profit from this." Texas? Texas sold him 140,000 acres. Think about that. Australia took action. Texas didn't. And look at what that failure has cost us. Texas wasn't his only target, but it was his most strategic. When the news broke, David Frankens vanished. He deleted his LinkedIn profile and closed his real estate office. Suspicious behavior from someone who just had the most successful period of his professional career. But not before defending his friend. When asked about Sun Guangxin, Frankens said, "In my dealings with him, he has always done exactly what he said he would do and has shown himself to be a generous, hospitable man. I consider him a friend. A friend he profited from on every transaction. A friend whose company was blacklisted by the Australian government. A friend he directed into a conservation corridor." Retired CIA officer Daniel Hoffman saw it differently. "I will loudly ring alarm bells about the threats to our national security from GH America and its Chinese Communist Party overlords." One man called him a friend, another called him a traitor. You decide. But here's what we know. Frankens sold 140,000 acres of strategic Texas land to a Chinese military officer. He marked up every one of the properties, and because of those markups, Sun's basis is now higher than fair market value, which is why conservation buyers can't get him to sell today. And then he disappeared before facing any consequences. Some hope. In 2021, Texas finally passed the Lone Star Infrastructure Protection Act. It prevents foreign actors access to critical energy grid infrastructure. And here's the irony. Sun, being Chinese, is actually protecting this land right now. Because of Senate Bill 2116, he can't connect to the grid. But he still owns the land, and he's desperately trying to sell it. When he does, and he will, the new owners won't have those restrictions. They can build wind farms, solar farms, data centers, hydrogen plants, even subdivisions. Those who know this land tend to put it bluntly. A subdivision would be almost as bad as all those other threats combined. Which ties in with the most immediate threat. AEP is pushing transmission lines right through this conservation corridor. They'll cross the Devil's River, fragment the wilderness, open all this land for industrial development. They're using Sun's failed wind project as justification. But this isn't about energy. It's about industrializing the last wild places in Texas for a buck. Congress must close the foreign ownership loopholes. The Texas Attorney General should investigate these transactions. And Texans need to understand, the threat isn't over. Learn more about how you can help fight this threat at don'tblowittexas.org.